People have toyed with the idea of a 4-day workweek for over 80 years. It has evolved from the Great Depression to Microsoft's latest successful experiment. So while the concept is far from new, it has gained increased traction, and the sectors that are at the helm of the work revolution, mainly startups and tech companies, are already looking to implement it. While we millennials and Gen Zs are just waiting for this to finally happen, many people of the older generation still have a different point of view. Just the fact that we get to have home office is already a giant step forward, so asking for even more benefits just seems greedy to them. And I get it. If I had to go to the office every day for 30 years, I would be a little bitter too. But there's far more to consider, because much of the social fabrics of our professional and private lives has changed. After all, many of the luxuries that they had, we will not get to enjoy, and to a large part also don't want to. But the fact is that while back in the day a worker could just come home at the end of the day and relax and enjoy, this is no longer the reality for us. We have no stay-at-home partner who takes care of the shopping and cleaning and laundry. We have to do that after our workday is over. We have to do that on weekends. We have one more ball in the air that we're not allowed to drop. Welcome to Rebel Economics. Today we'll be talking about the 4-day workweek. As you may have already guessed, I'm definitely in favor of it. Despite that, I do want to cover a bit more of an objective view on the matter, asking how it could actually work, and also looking at the potential downsides of it. Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoy our videos, please like and subscribe. And if you have done so already, let me take this brief moment to say thank you. It really means a lot to a young channel like ours. So wait, let's go back to the beginning. Did I really say the 4-day workweek emerged out of the Great Depression? Am I really telling you that this amazing idea has been around for nearly a century and is still not implemented across the board? Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. During the Great Depression, reducing working hours was one of the ways in which the state attempted to reduce unemployment. Instead of one person working a full 6 days, why not decrease that to hire a couple extra people? In the wake of industrialization, the legendary economist John Maynard Keynes saw the creation of ever more efficient work methods, predicting this trend to continue. Looking at the computer I'm using right now, he was surely right in many ways. His theory was that once a worker earned enough to pay for their necessities, he suggested they'd opt to spend more time at home or in leisure, reducing the work week to only 2 or 3 days, predicting that we'd all have a 15-hour work week within 100 years. Well, like I said, it has been nearly a century, and we are nowhere even close to that yet. So why not? This is perhaps best said by mogul Richard Branson. People will need to be paid more for working less time, so they can afford more leisure time. So why should companies agree to that? Well, he also says that by working more efficiently, there is no reason why people can't work less hours and be equally, if not more, effective. So before jumping into the pros and cons, let's look at what a 4-day workweek would really imply. After all, not everybody envisions this the same way. So what options are there for the 4-day workweek? Most of us imagine it as literally having Friday off, so working 32 hours instead of 40, while still receiving the same pay. However, this may not always be the case. Again, the forerunners of the tech industry would be more likely to do such a thing. Keeping good employees is hard, and this might just be the way to do it. Some, however, argue that this would come with a pay cut equal to the time you work less. So essentially, you would become a part-time employee instead of full-time. But many people are not prepared to take the 25% cut in salary that this would demand. Others have an intense week of working 9 to 10 hours per day in order to have Fridays off. Personally, I do not think that that was the idea behind the 3-day weekend at all. Another option would be swapping out the yearly holidays for having Fridays off, without this incurring in a decrease in salary. So let's look at that. There are about 52 Fridays in a year. In the US, you would have about 11 public holidays per year, plus the option of some of them falling on a weekend. So that would be a pretty good deal. These are just some examples of how the 4-day work scheme may vary. But most of the time, apart from it literally just being you becoming a part-time employee, it is still a pretty good deal. So let's look at the pros and cons. I'm a glass half full type of girl. So let's start with why the 4-day workweek is a good idea. For workers, that might be obvious. A longer weekend means more time with your family and loved ones, maybe getting out into nature and turning your mind to something other than work. A longer weekend will not only improve happiness, but also mental health. Burnouts have become an epidemic. A study shows that on average, a worker will experience a career burnout at the early age of 32. Burnouts seem to be hitting younger working adults particularly hard. 84% of millennials in the US surveyed said they had experienced burnout in their current job. I think why employees would benefit greatly from less work and more time to find a sustainable work-life balance is very clear. Especially when also considering my point from the introduction, that our weekends aren't all fun and games. A lot of household chores need to be done on weekends, because in the modern world, where both partners have full-time jobs, a lot of stuff simply won't get done during the week. So instead, let's focus on why employers should want a 4-day workweek as well. For one, all the added benefits will make workers happier and healthier, therefore also making them a better workforce. It will improve retention rate, which has become a huge issue in many companies. Finding new employees and onboarding them is a lot of effort, so hanging on to the ones you've got is really important. In 2018, a company in New Zealand, the Perpetual Guardian, tried out the 4-day workweek by reducing the hours to 32 per week, while keeping the pay the same. Researchers were asked to study the results of this experiment, and they were very positive. 24% more employees felt they could successfully balance their work and personal lives. Stress decreased by 7% among all employees involved, and work satisfaction increased by 5%. But the amazing thing was that actual job performance didn't change. By being able to de-stress over the 3-day weekend, workers were able to devise better work habits and to waste less of their work time. This was supported by another study showing that overall productivity peaks at 25 to 30 hours per week, especially for people over the age of 40. So if the 4-day workweek is so great for both workers and employers, then why don't we have it already? Well, as with everything, there are also risks to be considered. And the risk of having your employees work 25% less is quite a big one to take, especially when deadlines need to be met, which is the case in most industries. Making this change without knowing if the output will remain the same is a huge risk for a company to take. A reputation is ruined far quicker than it is created, so many companies are just too scared of the potential repercussions should the experiment not work. Also, people being more productive over a shorter period of time may be true in some cases, especially when the task at hand requires creativity and focus. But many jobs don't. A factory worker standing by the conveyor belt will surely be able to fold more cartons in 40 hours per week than in 32, no matter how motivated he is. Also, some industries require 24/7 presence or other such scheduling, making a 4-day workweek impractical. In France, the 35-hour workweek, for example, was introduced. But many workers put in the same hours as before, now being paid overtime though. This essentially just incurred more costs for the company without the workers getting the benefit of more leisure time. As I have already said in the beginning of this video, I'm strongly in favor of the 4-day workweek. And yes, I too am one of those people who imagines it as working 32 hours while still being paid the same. I think, given the shifting roles of partners in society, it is only fair to adjust for that. And seeing how much young professionals struggle with stress and burnout, it is important to look at the long-term benefits, both for the people on a human level, but also economically, as recovering from a burnout may mean taking half a year off, or even more, plus continued mental difficulties for years to come. But it is not a realistic option in all sectors and all jobs, and that too should be considered. Just as the home office already created a strong asymmetry between jobs that can be done from home versus the ones that can't, a 4-day workweek may have the same effect. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If so, please like and subscribe, it means a lot. We actually have released 2 more videos today, so why not check them out? One of them is about whether the euro was a mistake, and the other talks about the paradox of competition. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.